Hello peoples! In today's video we are using a Drake Corsair to run VHRT missions. I have two different builds to show you. The first one is an all energy cannon build and the second one is going to be ballistic Gatling guns. We're going to see which one works best for these VHRT missions when using the Corsair. So our Urkel link here, we have M7As for the size 5 and M6As for the size 4s. I'm going with the default missile loadout, so that didn't get changed. I did upgrade my shield to the FR86, and I upgraded my quantum drive to the crossfield. You don't have to do these upgrades. I had the equipment, so I did them. Now, later on, we're going to swap out the size 5 weapons for the size 5 AD5B Gatling. We're going to leave the energy cannons for size 4, simply because I didn't have the size 4 Gatlings to go with this build. So, sit back, relax, get yourself a snack and a beverage, and let's get to it. Alright, so my first VHRT I drew a Hurricane, a Valkyrie, and a Reclaimer as targets, so pretty typical. Now, in case you didn't know, there is a very annoying shield bug for NPC ships. So any ship that has a size 2 shield, the front shield facing is invulnerable. It just doesn't go down, no matter what. Considering that most of the time you're facing head-on these NPC ships, it's pretty annoying. So I chose to use my missiles to take out that Hurricane because it's the most dangerous ship out of this group. The other ones I can maneuver around and get my guns on, so it's no big deal. So after I took out the Hurricane, I'm now going to just fire on any of the targets of opportunity. Now, the Valkyrie also has that shield bug, but because it's a bigger, slower target, you're more likely to be able to get around that front shield and cause damage, and you'll see that in a little bit. So as the Valkyrie comes in, I've thrown my forward shield up just a little bit, put a little bit more power into it than the rest of the shields. That's a trick that you should probably get used to when dealing with the Drake Corsair, because that front shield seems to go down quite a lot. So you want to throw a little bit more power in there. I do have my capacitors split 50-50 between shields and weapons for right now, because it is basically just some NPC ships that I'm fighting. And you can see here, here's a good example. The Valkyrie, notice that its front shield is up, the remaining shields are down. I'm going to concentrate on him now and then blow him up. And that's because basically it's a bigger ship and I'm able to land those shots past that front shield. A lot harder to do on something like the Hurricane. So when you're facing those types of ships, if you're not using ballistics or something that will penetrate the shields, use your missiles on them. It'll save you a big headache. So now with the escort ships taken out, we're going to go to work on the Reclaimer. As expected, the cannons, size 5 cannons on the Corsair will make very, very short work of this Reclaimer. We've already taken down the shields and it doesn't take long before them to go pop. So cannons, laser cannons in particular, will work well. Are they the best DPS that this ship can muster out? Well, let's find out. What I've done in this next setup is I've got my ballistic Gatlings and they're pretty fun to use. Now, in this particular VHRT, I drew a Cutlass Black, a Hornet, a Buccaneer, and a Reclaimer as targets. The Cutlass Black also has size 2 shields, and it has that invulnerability thing in the front. And as you can see, my missiles are going through and they're doing damage to the rear shield, but not the front. But we have Ballistics, and Ballistics doesn't care about shields, so that's something we don't have to worry about now. So what I'm going to do is just basically pick my targets. I'm going to wait for that Buccaneer to get a little, bold and try to close the distance like I know it will. And I want to try to take the Buccaneer out as soon as possible because it's the most maneuverable. Followed by the Hornet, followed by the Cutty Black, and then followed by the Reclaimer. Now, as expected, the Buck starts zooming in. I'm going to basically use my size 5 Gatling spray here like a gigantic automatic shotgun, and it doesn't take long before he goes down. Now, with the most maneuverable threat out of the way, we're going to turn our attention onto whatever is an opportunity. So in this case, the Cuddy Black, he's right up in front of us. We don't have to worry about that invulnerability exploit, let's call it, or feature. And we're just going to mow it down as well. Doesn't take long. So those are out. Now we're going to turn our attention onto the Reclaimer, simply because it's closer. And we'll start working that one down. We still have the Hornet. And notice that my shields are taking damage, but they're not going to go all the way down to 0 before I take out that Reclaimer. So we're just going to keep mowing it down. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a little bit of separation away from the Hornet, which is going to harass me here. And I'm also going to increase my speed because I want to go all the way up to max speed, and then I'm going to decouple. Now the reason why I'm going to do that is, relative to the Hornet, I will be moving away from it all the time once I'm in decoupled mode. And that's going to help negate the Hornet's maneuverability advantage and speed advantage that it has on the Drake Corsair. So once I get my speed all the way up as fast as I can, you're going to see that I'll go into decoupled mode, which I have. Now I'm spinning around to put all of those great big huge size 5 guns onto the Hornet. Now the Hornet is still going to be able to zoom in and out a little bit on you, and you'll notice that I'm getting a little bit of desync here because my pip is going to start jerking around a little bit. So whenever you see your pip jerking around a little bit, that's desync. There's not much you can do about it, and it won't be much of a factor provided I can land some of my shots on this guy, because the ballistic Gatlings on here require you to keep on target for a longer period of time than something like a cannon. So I will end up using my laser cannons, particularly when the Hornet's at range, and that's coming up here. I open up with my laser cannons just to try and pepper it down, and you can see we're hitting. We take out the shields, and once he gets in a little bit closer, and I'm sure I'm going to hit with my Gatlings, we fire off. Now, easy peasy, lemon squeezy, nothing hard here. I did take some damage from some missiles, but that's no big deal. Now I want to show you a really good example of this desync and how frustrating it can be. So in this particular example, we have a Vanguard Warden. I'm trying to get my guns on it, and as you can see, watch how that pip just changes and jumps back and forth. Like, you can't even barely keep it on target. Again, this is just highlighting the fact that if you see this in desync, if you've already taken out the primary target in any of your missions, doesn't matter if it's an ERT, VHRT, whatever, just move on to the next one, because you're going to waste a lot of time trying to line up your shot on the target, particularly when it is just jumping all over the place. And it doesn't matter how far away it is. You can do what I do here, and that is get frustrated and ram the Vanguard. It can work sometimes, but it's really not worth your time trying to deal with it when you have desync at this level. So just an example, keep that in the back of your mind. I'm sure you've probably run across this before and had to deal with it. Now, to sum it all up, is the Corsair a pretty good ship to use in VHRT missions? Absolutely, definitely. The DPS just melts stuff down. It's not going to be able to tank much, but you don't have to tank if you've totally destroyed something. That's my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Do you like it? Do you hate it? What your weapons loadout are? All that good stuff. Do the thing with the like, subscribe, and bell. And as always, till next time, take care.